before. So it's just an opportunity for our players to get back in a lower key setting, which we can't do in the fall, and make our fans feel appreciated.
You announced it as being at Kearney High and then changed it. Was that Kearney High coming to you, or you coming to them and saying, go bigger?
That was, Lindsay could explain it better, but that was, I think, other people getting involved at a higher level, and they were sensing that demand was going to be so much they wanted to expand it. So somehow administrators got involved, and they moved it to Kearney so we could get more people in the stands. So that was kind of how that evolved, and Lindsay was in the middle of all that, and it wasn't my decision. And originally, just so you guys know, we were trying to go up to Lindsay, Ewing, Nebraska, summer Eddyville, and then was O'Neill. But when football moved to the 27th for their spring game, we had to move to May 4th, so that eliminated a lot of teams we could play. Denver was still training at the time, and those schools all had graduation that weekend. So we couldn't interrupt graduation, and so Kearney was third on the list, and that's why we ended up in Kearney. So if those guys want to be mad at anybody, they can be mad at football and Coach Rule.
Back to practicing?
She's back in practice, I'd say about 80% of everything we're doing. We've been gradually working her back in, but every day she looks better and better. And she was off for like 9 weeks, basically. So it's, but the good news is she's back in practice every day, and looks like what the procedure she had done is paid off.
Sean, Allie involved in practices too. Is that kind of, you invited her to continue training with the team, or was that decision?
Allie's still a Husker till she leaves, so she wanted to still train and be with us, and we've done that before, and even though her plan is to transfer, we still take care of them while they're here. So I would rather err on the side of taking care of our players than I know some of our transfers coming in, they can't do anything, be in the weight room, nothing. Those schools have basically banned them, and it'd be hard for me to sleep at night doing that.
How have you seen Olivia and Sky acclimate and get used to play at this level?
They have been the highlight of the spring. In beach, and I did a big podcast today, and I gave those guys credit for, we had probably the best beach season we've ever had, best wins, most wins, and I credit those two elevated our beach team to be able to win another. I mean, those guys had a legit shot of winning every time they played, and that elevated our, a team of, we have 5 teams, but they really elevated another team to a higher level, and I give them a lot of credit, and they're doing awesome in here. Those two guys are special, and they've come in and are doing a great job.
Is that anything that you've tried to help bring out of them? Is that something they just naturally have brought with them?
I think they're special. I think they're special kids. They're competitors. They're talented. Both have been in the USA program, which I think really helps them at this level. They've transitioned great. I mean, Olivia's in Bennington, so it's not like there's a big homesickness thing from there. And and Skylar's I think she's been ready to come here for a couple years. So it's been a really smooth transition, and those guys have been really pleased with them. At the end of week 1 last week, that was the first thing on our whiteboard was how well those freshmen did the first week. So very, very pleased, and those guys are getting after it really well.
Have you noticed Skylar or Olivia gravitating towards a specific returning player, any of the upperclassmen at all?
They with all of them. Look who Olivia gets to train next to, Lexi and Laney. So, that's pretty cool. And but she can hold her own, and Skylar, we're playing all the outsides at all the positions, so they're all rotating, and they're all, merits the mom and really takes care of those guys.
What was on your list of priorities when spring practice started this month?
Serve and pass. We want to work on improving our offense, timing, rhythm, attack, how we do things, our out-of-system offense. Those are the main things, and the other big challenge is, we got all the way we won the Big Ten and got all the way to the national championship. How do we get better? What's our mindset to come in and get better? And I use Merritt and Lexi as examples. They're first-team All-Americans. How much more room can they grow? Well, if those two can get better and take everybody with them, we're getting better as a team because they have the biggest challenge on improvement, and because they're already at such a high level. So that's been the other big focus is how do those guys get better? And so they have goals they've set and things they're working on, and they're held accountable to it every day.
Coach, now that you're like 4 months out from that title game, how much does it still linger? Do you sense that it's a motivator in how the team has trained and how they've practiced since then?
You have to ask those guys that. For me, it's, we've won national championships, we've lost national championships. I mean, you get the Final Four, you got a 25% chance of winning, basically. So for us, we try to learn from it. How can we get better? And it's just not only what we're doing as a team, but where we broke down, but also mentally, how can we get better? And that's been my focus, is how can we learn from that and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Who's impressed you so far in camp?
The freshmen. Those are, I'll put them on the top of the list every time right now. They've really surprised me. And I think you have to ask our players too. I think they're like, wow. I mean, Skylar's already taken 3 players at left front's heads off on left side attack, which is, we've got girls that have never done that. So for freshmen, just kind of like, wow. So it's pretty cool.
How has Lindsay been integrated back into practice? I know she missed the end of last year too. It's getting close, but has been any lingering?
No. It took her a while on beach to get going. In the first couple days in here, I could tell she was a little tentative, which is natural, because in beach you don't have people at the net tight. So but she's really worked into it, and we've worked on getting comfortable being around the net. We've done some drills for everybody's because we want to learn from that injury and not let that happen again. So yeah, she's doing great.
How do those early the freshmen coming in this early, beach volleyball, but also with training camp? How is that kind of, we've heard it for football for years, but now with volleyball, and how is that helping out?
Well, it gives us a chance we can play anytime 6-on-6. We have a lot of bodies. I mean, I know there's teams right now that can't scrimmage because they don't have enough players. But what it also does, it gets those guys in our program, gets them on our lifting program. So we jumpstart them 9 months ahead of when we start. And so it's a huge advantage going into the fall, having gone through an off season. And then they get to be here in the summer, they're acclimated, they're over adjustments, they get to work camps. Of course, Olivia will be going with the USA team. And so, if she was doing that, she wouldn't be here till July, middle of July, if she hadn't already been here. So there's a lot of advantages to it.
You have 5 Huskers selected on the USA teams. How can that help them develop when they're younger as high school players, but then also in college?
Well, first of all, they're going to go into a gym with 20 great players, so the competition is great. Then if they make the team, they get to go play against international teams. Different ball, different rules, and every team's got different styles, so it's a great learning opportunity anytime you get to play internationally, because Cuba is different than Dominican and to Canada. It's very, very different, where in club volleyball, a lot of teams are the same. And even in college, a lot of teams, you see the same things over and over. So it's a wonderful experience, and the timing of it this year works out great because it's in June. So it's not. Last year, it was in September, the World Championships, so none of them could go. So a lot of them really like it, and so it's pretty cool. We got 5 and some others that are in there.
Jalen's one of those others too. It's good to have him be along for the ride.
Yeah, I don't really like him leaving, but the dates just work out perfect for ending camp. The block we have from ending camp to when we start recruiting JOs, because it's so late this year, works out perfect. So he'll fly from Toronto, meet me in Vegas, and we're recruiting the Junior Olympics, and he's here through our June camps. So the dates, normally he wouldn't go if we had conflicts, but it just worked out great this year.
Final questions from Coach? What's it like to have so many players back from the previous season?
It's awesome for spring. You feel like you really get something. You can get something done. And again, I know we've had springs where you're just trying to keep them happy and motivated, and you really can't do a whole lot. And, we have to have guys play, or practice players play. We've had to do that in spring matches, or so it's just really nice. And the last couple of years, having this big group, I think really helps jumpstart us for 2024 season.
How excited does it make you to get those transfers in as well a little later in the semester?
Yeah, they'll all be here into May after they graduate, and so it'll be good to acclimate those guys in here.
What do you think they can add to this team?
Well, I don't know. I can't really talk about them yet. So.
Are you going to scrimmage anybody else besides Denver this spring?
We have a closed scrimmage against a team in 2 weeks.
Coach, we haven't really talked to you here since the change in athletic director. Your name was at least floated in that. Can you just provide some perspective on whether that was ever a consideration for you and what your relationship has been like so far with Troy?
I've just had one interaction with him. That's been it. He's got a lot going on, and no, that was not my goal, was to be the athletic director. So I want to do everything I can to help our athletic department be the best we can be, and that's what I told him, and continue to have Nebraska Volleyball set the standard for every program in the country.
Obviously, volleyball had a huge growth season this last year, but also women's basketball is doing huge numbers this year. How have you seen women's athletics grow in general just over these last few years?
Well, at Nebraska, it's been great, because don't count on soccer. They had a heck of a year. So you got soccer, volleyball, women's basketball have all set the standards. So that's how we want to be. We want to be competing for championships, and Nebraska should be in that position, and women's sports is doing their job.
All right.
Thanks,
Okay.
Coach.
Bring up Lindsay now.
Lindsay's all primed and ready.